Good evening and welcome back to ParaGhoul Paranormal Discoveries from the Dark. If you're new here, this radio show and podcast dives deep into the shadows of Saskatchewan past to learn what lies within. Sometimes we even go to other locations across Canada to chat about dark history, mysteries, urban legends, and even monsters here or there. I'm your host, KD Culpa. I'm a horror author and paranormal researcher in Regina, Saskatchewan. I love digging into the past to bring life to the ghosts and monsters hiding in the dark. And I especially love going live every week with you to tell you what I've uncovered. Tonight we have another special guest episode. I'm joined by Shanon Sinn, author and publisher from Black Cat Books in Victoria, British Columbia. I was lucky to meet Shanon through the Vancouver chapter of the Horror Writers Association, and there is no Saskatchewan or Prairies chapter, so that's why. Thankfully, they were grateful. I'm grateful that they were willing to take me on as one of their members, even though our time zones don't always line up, and I get to meet some really interesting people. So sit back, relax, and get ready to talk, writing, publishing, and even digging deeper into some Prince Albert ghost stories. All right, so thanks for coming on to the show. And did you want to just kind of introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Shanon Sinn. I'm originally from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I now live in Victoria on the southern tip of Vancouver Island. And I'm a writer, a veteran, and just a naturally curious person when it comes to folklore. I consume folklore and I write a lot about folklore, and I also write fiction. And just last spring, I graduated from a one-year program that I added to my writing degree that is about comics and graphic novels. So
Oh,
I'm
cool.
also creating more art now as well. So I guess that is briefly about me.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know you're starting to get into graphic novels. That's cool.
Yeah, I through that program I published a comic, and it's also being sold locally on Vancouver Island and a few places, and it also has ghost stories in it as well.
Oh,
And uh,
cool.
I try to make everything now that I do more regional, more local. So even the fiction I write or the comics and stuff generally tend to be rooted in somewhere in Western Canada.
Hmm. Oh, that's cool. What actually got you into writing in the first place? Was it something you always wanted to do, or?
Yeah, I mean that's always a long a long explanation. I'll try to summarize it as briefly as possible, but I always enjoyed writing. I at one point I thought I'd be a police officer. I traveled a bit and such, so was working as a loss prevention manager for the Bay downtown in Vancouver,
Okay.
and I did a lot of writing reports, investigative reports on like fraud or on internals, what we call employee theft or fraud. And so I was always writing these types of reports, writing part time in university as well. I took my first year criminology, and that's when I got one of my first things published, which was in a criminology textbook.
Oh, cool.
And it was about inmates and civil rights. And I've since I served in the military. I came back and I was diagnosed with cancer that they said was related to things I was exposed to. And it was the subsequent chemotherapy. I ended up with nerve damage, and I had to choose, I guess, a job that would be easier for me to do, less physical.
Hmm.
And so that's when I went back to school part time at Vancouver Island University to get my writing degree and started writing and trying to get more things published. So and here I am. I'm still trying to get things published. It's still writing, and now I also launched about just over a year ago a small publishing house called Black Cat Books, as you know, because
Hmm.
we published some anthologies of short stories, and that's how I think we started talking, as we asked if you would like to write a short story for us for our upcoming third anthology. which is
Yeah.
about supernatural beings.
Exciting times.
So
I
yeah,
can't wait.
I guess that's in brief how I ended up uh, being a quote unquote writer uh,
Yeah.
these days.
Well, I know I'm really jealous of you because you're a few years ahead of me with the Haunting of Vancouver Island book because I want to do my own haunting Saskatchewan book one day.
Mm.
So I guess what kind of got you to go more, because you said you write about folklore, both fiction, nonfiction kind of stuff. I guess what kind of brought you into that specific genre?
Well, it was interesting because I've had my experiences myself and throughout my life, and but I call myself a skeptical believer. So it felt easier to write about things from a folklore perspective
Right.
because then it's easier to be like, I don't have to sit back and ask myself, are these giant lizards people report in the lower mainland real?
Yep.
Because most people just discount it if they're going for the paranormal type of approach. Instead, I'm just interested in the story and think it's cool, right? And I kind of let unleash the inner child and just let myself go explore these stories while, like I said, while being a skeptical believer, because it's like um, I I don't know what these things are, even the things that I've experienced. I just have to keep an open mind. And yeah, I listening to your episodes of your show, I feel like we kind of approach this very similar. And I'm looking forward to the book that I know you'll write at some point and publish about Saskatchewan because I feel like these types of books are more interesting than when the stories are just they're trying so hard to make you believe
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
that these things happened. So yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity. I think also like I noticed on Vancouver Island, my book became very popular and has been a bestseller for 7 years, and it
Oh,
sold tens of thousands of copies, which is pretty formidable for a BC published book. And part of the reason was that it also included Indigenous content, like
oh yeah.
non-appropriated from people's sources. Because my idea was like, how can you have a story about a regional area that's only about, like, for lack of a better term, like settler
Yeah.
ghost lore, um, when there's like, and especially the Indigenous stories. Northern Saskatchewan's the same, having grown up there are it's so there's so many rich stories. There's so much
Oh, there is.
interesting like ghost lore, for lack of a better term. It's just like why wouldn't we include it? And so that's been very well received. I think more the approach than necessarily the fact that it's about Vancouver Island.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Well, especially I think Canada wide, it would be missing you'd be missing a big chunk of our history if you didn't talk about the Indigenous stories because, there's thousands of years of history here, so it would be a big chunk to miss, I would think.
Yeah, and it's also contemporary, right? Like
Yeah.
so like in the larger communities, there's ghost stories that are from now that aren't so like instead of like the approach that authors used to take maybe like pre 1990s and earlier, where it's like if they included any indigenous stories, it would be seen more as myth.
Yeah.
It's like no, there's like this is a community that has like a ghost that's that they talk about that haunts the local bar,
Yeah.
or like it's just like it shouldn't just be ignored um because it doesn't kind of like fit in the way that we've been telling the ghost stories in the past. And
Hmm.
then it also like there's something to be said about the urban legends that surround like indigenous burial grounds as well.
Hmm.
And like a lot of times that's tied into like all sorts of problematic beliefs that really it's better to maybe look at it a little harder and be like, well, was there really an indigenous burial ground underneath um, this complex that makes it like people claim that it's so haunted, or was that just fabricated? And if it's fabricated, is it more, does it have more to do with like a collective idea? Because like these indigenous burial ground stories pop up in fiction, even like Stephen King, or
Yeah.
very famous folklore that has been debunked, like the poltergeist story. I think it's like it's interesting to hear from people that have traditionally more of a, I guess, like less skeptical view on spirits and how
Hmm.
to treat spirits, and how to, in some cases, like in BC, like they have often burnings,
Oh yeah.
which they take plates of food that they burn for the spirits to feed the ancestors and
Hmm.
stuff like that. I just think is very interesting to add to the overall collection of stories about a place.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, they have a definitely have a different perspective of it than, Americanized television shows of ghost stories.
Yeah,
And I love it.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you've found this when you're doing your research, but when I started started to research some of these stories, I guess I was a little more um, naive. I didn't realize how many of them had been made up or
Oh,
fabricated or exaggerated. And then it just became very kind of like disappointing to be like, oh, I thought that story was real, or oh man, I can't believe it. That was completely made up.
yeah, I've
So
come across that a few times, especially with the Canadian legends that are supposedly huge and
right.
mysterious, and then you start looking into it like, no, this was completely fabricated. It has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah,
So you're kind of like, oh,
you talked about that in your Wendigo
yeah,
episode a lot too.
yeah.
And you mentioned Creepy Canada, and like I found everything that leads back to Creepy Canada was just made
I
up.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. More and more, it keeps coming up, and I'm kind of going, what were you guys doing back then?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I guess they didn't realize that research would become easier and easier in the decades to follow, and people would be able to fact
to
check
look
them.
into these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it without the internet like we have nowadays, but oh well. I'm grateful for Saskatchewan archives because that helps a lot with my research too.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the Saskatchewan Archives, they're located in Regina, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Yeah. It works
Yeah.
really well. So yeah. Well, and I guess let's come back to Black Cat Books because you mentioned that you did start Black Cat Books. I
Right.
guess what kind of brought you to start your own publishing?
Well, I noticed like when it comes to genre fiction, especially, that there's nothing really I would consider Western Canadian.
Yeah.
So the idea of Black Cat Books, these first three anthologies, which are meant to be a base for to be able to publish other types of works as
Hmm.
well. Uh, the anthologies, the idea is to take previously published authors,
Hmm.
um, such as yourself, and they have to be from Western Canada, and then the stories have to be set in Western Canada. And so we like the first book called Black Cat. It could be any type of supernatural, like a self-titled Black Cat. Not to be too confusing, but it's the book is called Black Cat, and it's by Black Cat Books, obviously. But each story just had to have an appearance of a black cat in it
Oh,
uh,
right.
while the supernatural events are happening. And so there's 13 supernatural stories. And then the second one, called That Witch Whispers,
Mhm.
was about witches. And this time with that one, we included two short comics. So it was 11 stories, two short
Oh.
comics. And this one, there'll be two or three short comics and at, at least 10 short stories. And the the idea is about supernatural beings, and the title is still not revealed. It's still in the works. And so this was the idea was to like give an opportunity for people from Western Canada who are semi-professional writers and a place to publish an extra place to publish. I mean, it's not like we're anywhere at a place where we can publish a lot of people. It's still small numbers, but we pay. I've been pretty much been able to take the money that I've made from the Haunting of Vancouver Island and give back to the writing community, so to speak,
Oh,
through
okay.
these projects. And we also like print in Western Canada, and like the second one was printed in Houghton, Boston, which is in Saskatoon. The first one is printed in by Friesens in Manitoba, and the artist, the cover artist, she was for the first book in the Sunshine Coast, and she had moved to Victoria, so we used her for the second one as well.
Hmm.
The graphic designers, everybody involved in this, and it's not meant to be like super nationalist or anything than that, but just to kind of like offer something that exists elsewhere. Like there's a lot of regional type of publications like this, like especially in England
Oh,
and
okay.
United Kingdom, where it's like, oh, this is open to people that are living in this part of England. And I've seen very similar in the United States, but I haven't seen anything like that for Western Canada. So that's what I wanted. A lot of times, like for magazines, like speculative type magazines or genre magazines, they'll have grant money from Canada, but they'll still open it up to non-Canadians and stuff,
Yeah.
which is fine and great. But I just thought that it would be really nice to have something that has like cool stories that are set in places here, right? And
Yeah.
by people that are from here. So far it's been challenging, a steep learning curve, but it's also been a lot of fun. The first one I edited myself, so that was a ton of work. Second one was edited by Zoe McKenna and Joshua Gillingham, and this one's edited by Caroline Lavoie and Monique Riel, and very happy so far with how these anthologies have progressed.
And probably less work now that you aren't having to do all the editing.
You think so, but there's
There's
always
still
stuff.
lots.
Yeah, because I'm in charge of distribution and shipping and bookkeeping and
All
like
the other stuff.
all the stuff that you would think, and then I proofread the books and yeah, it's been a lot of work still, but like at this stage that we're in right now where the stories are starting to be edited, I can during this phase I don't have to do all that
Yeah.
work because it's a back and forth with the writers and yeah, it's a lot of work to try to create a book that even though the prints and the sales are in the hundreds, not the tens of thousands, we still have fought tooth and nail so that the quality was as high as possible.
Right.
So like I said, they're proofread and professionally designed, and people are paid for their work, and the cover artist is paid, and so I'm pretty happy with how it's been going so far. But I feel like after the third book, I don't know if we'll continue to do anthologies or if it'll be more start to publish other works as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess we should talk paranormal experiences
Sure.
before we
Yeah,
run out of time. Even though I find
absolutely.
this a fascinating talk about books and publishing. I love the topic. But I know, like you said,
Yeah.
you're from Prince Albert area, and I know you said you have an experience with the St. Louis Light. So
Yes.
why don't we start with your experience and kind of your theories?
Sure. So the St. Louis Ghost Light to me is has to be one of the most frustrating stories ever. And to me, because I've experienced it, I've seen it many times. In the 1990s, when I was growing up as a teenager, there was no gate there. You could drive partway down the road. At some point, they put earthen mounds, so you couldn't go all the way. I honestly don't remember if that was always there or if that showed up shortly after we started to go there. So it was like many haunted places. It was a party place. We go there. And the first time that I saw it, because I ended up seeing it over the years, probably dozens of times,
Hmm.
sometimes multiple times a night. The first time we saw it, we were walking down the where the tracks used to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is a wooded lane and more of a trail once you get past where you have to walk, once you get past where the cars can go up to at the time. Um, Now I'm sure what somebody has said in one of your interviews already that there's a gate there. You can't, there's huge no trespassing, but
Yep.
you used to be able to walk. So you'd walk and approach it. And it was very disconcerting, the feeling in the air.
Oh,
And it's just like I've only experienced that in a few haunted type places before. Like it feels like something is wrong. Like you do not feel comfortable just like, oh, I'm just gonna walk up this lane by myself. Like you do it almost as a dare, right? You don't
yeah.
just like just do it casually. But the first time we're walking and we had been around a fire with maybe like half a dozen people and we thought someone was ahead of us with one of those huge flashlights because we kept seeing this big beam of light right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were kind of like, just like, oh, yeah, like thinking like, oh, these people are messing with us, right? And so it didn't really realize that that's what it was. We went back and saw the people we thought were in front of us were still at the fire. And
Ooh.
so it was kind of like very like, what the heck? And so saw it many times, saw it many different ways, and started to get frustrated around the early 90s. I think people started to try to say that it was headlights in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many problems with that theory. Like, first of all, to think that it could be headlights in the distance would automatically, to me, say you have never seen it. You've never seen it because it's huge and it's right in front of you. And sometimes it acts like not like a train at all
Mm-hmm.
because it will rise into the air. It will be above you. If you go past it, you will look back and you can see it behind you. You can see
Oh,
it
wow.
during the day. You could we've seen it above a car when the people inside the car didn't know that it was
Oh,
there
wow.
because you walk away and you see it. You see it off of the tracks sometimes, but generally speaking, it comes down the track area,
Mm-hmm.
and often it's accompanied with a red swinging
I've heard of
light,
the red
which
swinging. Yeah.
people say have said that that's the conductor. The evidence, of course, is not there. Like nobody seems to be able to find any sort of tragedy that took place there.
Yeah.
Many times you'll hear people talk about this being a curve in the tracks. It's not, it's straight. It's a
Okay.
straight lines. There's no curve. And before these gates and stuff were there, at one point I had went to the other side of the service road, which you usually don't walk past at night because there's a house kind of there,
Okay.
and just walked that way. And I saw at that time during the day looking the other direction.
Oh,
So, and looking the other direction, it's just like no matter how badly people are trying to say that it's a headlight, there's nothing that place that it could be. And there's also trees. So how could these headlights be refracting or bouncing off of the metal box like the one investigation claimed? And another thing that doesn't make sense about that theory is that everybody who's come up with that theory that I've found always says that the car has to be exactly at one spot and the person has to be standing exactly at one spot. This ghost light has
oh,
never been seen just only in one place, standing in one place. And if it's headlights in the distance that's coming towards you refracting, how does that work if the car's standing like in parked in a single location?
well, yeah.
It doesn't even make sense. So,
Oh.
but people badly don't want to believe it. And the reason I say it's like, and then the people that have seen it know for sure that it's like it's behaving like a UFO almost when I say like it's
That's what it
going,
sounds like. Yeah.
yeah. And then the frustrating part is that now there's no access. So it's like, how do you do respectfully um, research this
Yeah.
without like upsetting whoever it is? And the story I've heard, I don't know if this is true. This could be as made up as the train disaster might be. The story I've heard multiple times is that the farmer that owns that land does not want anything to do with anybody investigating there. He doesn't want the attention. So
Hmm.
it's kind of unfortunate because like some people have even thought about, oh, this could be a good tourist attraction.
Yeah,
But
for the area.
yeah, but the people there are just like, no, we don't want anybody there. We don't want anybody investigating this. We don't want people walking on our property. It's so that's what's frustrating. I've gone there since over the years, and it's just not the same. If you
Yeah,
kind of know what you're looking for, you see it, you can see it kind of from a certain point on the road. I've seen it, but it's just like it's it's not close. It's not accompanied as much with that eerie
that
feeling.
feeling.
It's just a light,
Yeah.
right, right in the distance, kind of. So,
Yeah. Oh. So what do you think it's aliens or what do you think? It could be
well,
since you've seen it.
yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I don't. I mean, if you want to talk about aliens, I have whole theories about that too, because I don't really. When we talk about UFOs, I don't. I think that there's these sightings are so there's so many of them. I don't
Hmm.
think it could be from another universe or galaxy. It makes no sense unless they're like almost like a cruise ship type thing comes and
Yeah.
unleashes all these UFOs to go
Never
check
thought
us
of
out.
that.
Um, but yeah, I don't really know. I don't really understand it. Like I said, it feels like has a very ominous feeling.
Hmm.
And like I've been to so many haunted places now, and there are other places I've been to that have that
That
feeling, but
feeling.
not all of them.
Mm.
And some of them just give you that creepy feeling or give you that feeling that you're being watched. But there's a couple places like the St. Louis Ghost Light that just feel like you are not in a good place and you're
Mm.
not surrounded by something that's nice or kind. So I don't know. I don't really understand what this could be, but it does behave at times as if it has some sort of intelligence and some sort of
Interesting.
um, mischievous kind of like people talk about like their car stereos turning off or
Yep.
they talk about like trying to mess with it and then it turning the white light turning red almost like
Oh,
it's angry stuff like that. So I don't know, it could be just a coincidence that the tracks went somewhere across something that was already
that's already there.
pre-existed,
Yeah.
or as people sometimes think in the paranormal type world, it disturbed something, like something got dug up or something got damaged.
Yeah.
That could be too, but I have no idea what it could be. But I
Hmm.
do believe it's real, and I do not think it's headlights.
Oh, fascinating. I would love to go there. We'll see if I ever get permission.
I hope you do. That would
It'd be
be a
interesting.
very, very interesting, yeah, to see. Uh, like even back then, people would try to take photos too, and they often didn't turn out.
Yeah.
Like there's often like problems with the film and stuff, according to
Oh, yeah.
um at least one newspaper article I came across. So it'd be interesting to see like a very good footage,
Yeah.
high quality from
Hmm.
multiple angles, just as if it was like some sort of other type of investigation. That'd be
Yeah.
very,
It'd be
very
fascinating
interesting.
for sure.
Hmm.
Did
Yeah,
you have any other story? Because you said you've been to a few places. I guess do you have any other stories you want to share?
sure. Well, I will, although I'm more of an expert, if you can use that word for Vancouver Island, I will share a couple of Prince Albert stories that were big when I
Sure.
was growing up because I mean, that was those formidable years before we could get into bars and stuff. That's what we did is to drive to these places that we could either have a bush party or we'd go to these haunted type locations and meet other people.
Yep.
And so another well-known story in Canada or in Prince Albert area is the Hands Bridge story.
Okay.
So there's a park called the Little Red River Park, just north of the river, north of Prince Albert.
Right.
You can walk to it. I have walked to it before from the city, although it's just a short drive. but I would say that it's still, I would consider it outside of the city.
Okay.
And there's like a little service road that cuts through it, and there's this old little arch type of concrete bridge there.
Okay.
And the story goes is that a long time ago, a school bus crashed and went into the river, and all the children drowned. And sometimes people say that it was a bus filled with orphans, but either way, if you park your car in neutral in the middle of the bridge, it'll be pushed to the other side of the bridge.
Oh.
And then if you look, especially at winter when there's like frost or whatever, you'll see tiny little handprints everywhere. And so
Oh.
there's all these stories about it, about again, people's stereos not working. I remember one guy telling me in high school, although to be honest, I don't remember who it was, but they said that their stereo began playing even though it was disconnected,
Oh.
that sort of thing. But this is like it's more of an urban legend because there's similar types of stories across North America of like little hands pushing a car off of a train tracks if it stalls in the tracks or whatever,
Yeah.
where there's a tragedy in the past and stuff. So, but it is a fun, fascinating story. They made it so you can't drive on the bridge in 2011, and I
Okay.
think actually that you can't easily go down the road now. Like you'd have to like go on the short little walk or on a bicycle or um, some other means to get to the bridge now. Sadly, over the years, it's become more and more and more graffitied,
Yeah.
like many of these places sometimes are. But that is a very well known story. When I was growing up, that was a place that we all went. Um, uh, my mom and stepdad live at Candle Lake, which
Okay.
is about 45 minutes north of Prince Albert. It's probably the second most uh, popular lake after Waskesiu in the Prince Albert National Park.
Hmm.
But it's a resort village. I think less than 1,000 people live there. And the census from about 2016, they said there's 1,200 resident type homes of that are only seasonal.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is a few thousand more people come in summer as well as tourists and stuff. Very popular. But its name, Candle Lake, comes from a ghost story. And the historical group there, the Candle Lake, they've published a book using Saskatchewan archives and other sources, interviews with settlers and stuff. The
Hmm.
story goes back to around 1912 when the first settler got there. It was strange. There had been a HPC trading fort there, but it was
Oh, okay.
strange that there was no indigenous people that had settled around the lake. And there's a story that it was cursed and that you would see these glowing flame like ghosts. Some stories say above the burial grounds that are said to exist on the north shore
Hmm.
of Candle Lake, and others that you see it between. There's two islands called Curly Islands that you can see it between that. And people have over the years said that it's phosphorescent,
Oh,
possibly
okay.
like the swamp gas, as they say.
Yep.
But I've been there, I fished there probably, I don't even know how many times. I don't wouldn't even be able to say because we ice fish there when I go back for Christmas. I've every time I'm there, we're out in the boat. My stepdad's a huge fisherman, and my dad has a cabin there as well. And when I was growing up, I was always there. So I've never once seen any sort of light there. So if this was the explanation, I find it hard to believe because wouldn't people see this at some point?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very well known story in the area as well, and which reminds me of the growing up. I'm sure everybody's heard this now, especially with the age of the internet and stuff. But often would hear stories throughout the Prince Albert and northern parts about the Northern Lights and
Yeah.
how that their spirits, ancestor spirits, are ghosts, and if you whistle, they'll come down and abduct you. So that was a huge story too. One of the place is very reputed to be haunted in Prince Albert is Kinsman Park.
Hmm.
It's a large park on 22nd Street and Central. And the story is that that used to be the grounds that they hanged people. And I have never verified if this is true, but there's 13 people that were hanged there, that were sent to be executed. And on the northeast corner, apparently there's 5 people that were buried there. So the story
Oh.
is that you sometimes hear them speaking or crying, especially in EMPs, like if people try to record it.
Hmm.
And you often hear that people, the story, the legend is that people's dogs don't want to walk in that part of the park
Oh,
because it's
interesting.
kind of like a circuit around it. And then one of my favorite stories, residential stories from Prince Albert, is the Arts Center. And so this is close to the river, um, and it's on Central Avenue again.
Hmm.
And this building was built in the 1890s, and it was supposed to be the courthouse and opera house. And it has a bell tower, so it kind of like you could tell it's old and very unique, especially for Prince Albert.
Hmm.
And people say that you often can see faces looking out the windows at night.
Oh.
And I've heard that for years and years and years. And also that the lights turn on and off, that there's lots of walking heard, like footsteps, your typical things, and the feeling that there's a presence around. And one of my favorite stories about it is that that you can hear old fashioned music from that era, from the opera era,
Oh, yeah.
and see couples dancing.
Oh, cool.
I think that's very cool. I
That
mean, it's like
is.
one of those things that's like probably in the world of ghosts and ghost stories, if it happened, it probably happened once. And then the story was like, this is often seen, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a very interesting story for Prince Albert. But there is a ton of residential stuff there. You know, you're always worried about stigmatizing any residents, but that is one haunted city, small
Hmm.
city. Story I was told from my cousin's husband, so a relative by marriage. He was a police officer, and when he's no longer a police officer in Prince Albert, but when he was working in Prince Albert, new to the force, one of his first cases was a very violent domestic assault against a woman, and she didn't make it. Tragically, she died.
Hmm.
A young Indigenous woman, and he said it really bothered him. It stuck with him, and he felt compelled to go back to drive by the scene of the murder a year later. And on the anniversary of her murder, he drove his police cruiser there. And just as he pulled up and went to park, he looked and he saw her standing in the window staring at him.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he said it was like one of the eeriest things he's ever seen. And the way he told me, I just got shivers, and I got shivers telling you
I got them too.
because it's like if like to know him is like he's not the type of person, like I've never heard him tell a ghost story. I've never heard him exaggerate. He's in our family just a very well respected person that's just like matter of fact,
Hmm.
and everybody likes him, but he's not one of those people that's a storyteller. And when he
Yep.
told me this, it was kind of like he knew my interest, and it was more of an aside, like he told me that this had happened, and I believe him. Like there's no indication at all that this didn't happen. So that story stuck with me as well, even though it's not really a haunted location. I don't know. I mean, my feeling was that maybe it just happened once,
Yeah.
and it, it wouldn't be the anniversary of the death or anything. And the way that he felt about it was that she showed up because he was there.
Yeah.
because he had cared and because he was trying. He's living with that case, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since he felt called to go there. That sounds like maybe she wanted him to.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Wow. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. So, is there anything that you want to let our listeners know before we wrap up?
Uh, uh, Not really. I just like I've been working on a sequel to The Haunting of Vancouver Island
Oh,
for a
nice.
number of years. I still think it's about over a year away from being done, just under a year away. And that is on sea lore and ghost stories. So it focuses more on
Oh,
coastal stuff like ships, haunted ships, phantom ships, lighthouses. There's a few mermaid stories I've found.
oh, cool.
Lots of very cool and interesting stuff to do with our nautical lore on the British Columbia coast. And I've traveled up to Haida Gwaii for stories and to Prince Rupert and all over the coast. So I've been doing very deep dives into stories, and like almost none of them have ever been in books. So it's like I
Cool.
think it's going to be a very interesting compilation. Hopefully, I execute it well and it's well written.
That's always the hard part, right? Making sure you get it down right and like tell the
Yeah,
story and give it life.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I know I've got to read your first one yet, so I've got some
Oh,
reading to do.
yeah. Well, there is I had mentioned the St. Louis Ghost Light and that I had experiences younger,
Hmm.
and that's in the introduction.
Oh, very
Talk
cool.
a bit about Saskatchewan. Like it's not enough to like make someone get it if they're not interested in reading about Vancouver Island, but there is some mentions about Saskatchewan ghost stories there.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We probably could have kept talking for another half an hour, but
Well, we could always do it again
yeah, exactly.
if you're interested. Yeah.
For sure. Cool. Thank you for joining us tonight. Next week, we're going to be talking about the ghost ship of Northumberland Strait. It's funny that we talked about ghost ships tonight, and we're going to be talking about one next week. So, hey, there you go. Uh, Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll uncover more secrets, unravel more mysteries, and delve deeper into the shadows. Until then, remember to keep your flashlight handy and digital recorders ready. This is Katie Culpa signing off. Until next time, my ghouls.